Welcome everybody. How's it going? Today it is Peak Pros podcast episode number 8, and we are coming at you here just a few days before Halloween. We've got a special guest today, so it's going to be a fun and exciting episode. Once again, I'm Brian Tenenhouse, physical therapist here at Peak, and we've got Mia Sweet. She's our fitness director. And today we have our guest, Matthew Jennings, coming here from HK High School. So that's Haddam Killingworth, just about 15-20 minutes from here. And so without further ado, let's get started.
Yeah, so Matthew is an awesome runner, one of the top runners in the state, and nationally ranked as well, I believe.
At one point, yes.
Oh, awesome, cool. So how did you first find us at Peak? Did you come here for training? Did you come here for physical therapy? How did you find us?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think it was going into my junior year, might have been the end of my sophomore year, I was having some trouble with my hip flexor. I'm pretty tall, I don't know if you can tell because I'm sitting down, but I'm 6'6". So that comes with a lot of flexibility issues that I've encountered over the years. And it led to some irritation with my hip and my hip flexor. And some friends in my high school team had been coming to Brian for a long time, and they recommended him. So I originally came here looking for some physical therapy.
Awesome. And prior to coming to Peak, did you do any sort of strength training, getting ready for running, and how did that look?
Yeah, so my mom is a lifelong runner and kind of a little bit of a fitness freak. So since, I don't even know, since probably 4th or 5th grade, she's been really good about trying to get me to do dynamic warm-ups and dynamic cool-downs and things like that.
Nice.
Prior to coming here though, I've been to a couple of different physical therapists, but none that I found were particularly great. And I did not dabble in any sort of strength training.
Yeah. And so when you started to do some of the strength training, when you kind of learned some of these things, did you notice a bigger difference with your speed or with your times or any other, big successes that you might have had?
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually, along with a few of my friends, we participated in, I don't even know how long it was, probably like 2 or 3 month strength training program here at Peak, led by Mia, which was a lot of fun. It was bi-weekly for about an hour, and we did a whole routine, as you can attest to, of strength training and flexibility and mobility and things like that. And right off the bat, both with me and my friends, we felt stronger. I think the most noticeable difference was that we just didn't feel as sore or as kind of like those just typical kind of things that pop up every now and again when you're just running every day. Just the typical irritances.
Yeah.
We just didn't feel those, so it was really good. I've been injury-free, not to jinx it, but I've been injury-free for months and months now, which has been really nice and has helped train, because with running it's all about consistency.
Totally. And going into your senior year, what were you thinking for the cross-country season, like goal-wise, especially coming out of like a strong strength training program coming for the summer? What were some of your goals?
Well, I guess it's certainly changed.
Yeah.
When I was a little bit younger, freshman and sophomore year, senior year, obviously, as everyone does, was a time for some big goals and things like that.
Yeah.
But obviously going into the spring season of my junior year, we had COVID-19
Just a little something called COVID-19.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if you've heard of it. Which kind of threw a wrench into the plans, but even during the spring, I mean, I feel like similar to a lot of people, we thought it was going to be all wrapped up over the summer or even before the summer. So I still had certainly a bunch of goals going to senior year. I mean, probably the latest of which was qualifying for Nike Cross Nationals.
Yeah.
My junior year, I placed 7th, and this year I would be a returner as a qualifier my junior year I placed 20th, but I would be the 7th returner and a qualifier for Nike Cross Nationals. That was going to be the goal this year, but as with other things, it got canceled. Which is obviously unfortunate, but understandable given everything. So our focus has kind of shifted a little bit.
Totally.
And we were really good about working with our team's captains and our coaches to kind of reformulate the season, just how we saw our goals, and we started setting a lot more goals about enjoying the season and enjoying running and kind of focusing a little bit more on little things because obviously we didn't really have any idea
Yeah.
when there were going to be meets or just opportunities to test our fitness. So going into the season, it definitely transitioned less to kind of looking down the line at those big meets and competitions that I'd be training for, and more so just kind of enjoying the everyday,
Yeah.
just kind of practices.
Wow. No, I cannot imagine like that roller coaster of emotions. Like finding out that you qualified, right? You must be feeling, woo, like so happy, so excited.
Well, I didn't qualify. I got 20th and I would have returned as a qualifier. So it was a
Exactly.
goal, but it was still obviously lengthy.
Oh, yeah. So I can't imagine as a super athlete to experience COVID and just trying to get these times and improve these times to colleges, right? That's a huge thing when it comes to scholarships and things like that. So yeah, going into the spring again, so talking about when COVID hit, when you found out, so that of course affected your school year as well, and so what was that like trying to manage, all right, a whole new school system and then also trying to manage your training at the same time? What was that like?
Yeah, absolutely. So it was a little bit of a 1-2 punch when I found out because the first thing I think, our last day of school was actually, it was a Friday the 13th, it was March 13th, which was our last day of school, and then that Wednesday, late that Wednesday night, I found out that New Dons Nationals was canceled for the indoor season, which was, again, you know, a long-term goal that I was really looking forward to. I was going to be competing in the championship 1,000 meter run and the emerging elite sprint medley relay with a few of my teammates.
I
Yeah.
think I remember that day.
Yes, right? I'm sure you do, yeah. I was definitely upset, disappointed. And then we found out that Friday that we were leaving school, which at the time we thought was going to be, you know, 1 to 2 weeks. We were thinking the month at max because we had our spring break coming up in just a couple weeks. Obviously that didn't happen, the situation changed. I don't know, I think we did a really good job of just kind of, you know, working with what we got.
Yeah, day by day, maybe taking it.
Exactly, like the situation was so constantly in flux and just changing all the time that the only thing we really could do was focus on, you know, the now.
Yeah.
So again with my teammates, we took a little bit of a break after the indoor season, where we still thought we were going to have an outdoor season. So we took a little bit of a break and then we got back into just running. It was nice because you kind of got to refocus again on the little things. So while it was really bad, obviously running by yourself, which at times can be a little annoying, especially when you have a distance run or something like that, but then over time you get to kind of meet up with 1 or 2 of your friends and run with them, so.
At least we had like good weather too this spring.
Exactly, it was really nice, yeah, and I got to go, our track wasn't that nice at my high school, so, yeah, exactly. We actually traveled down to a track at the local high school in Madison here for our workouts. It was a nice turf field and things like that, so it honestly made it quite nice, so we just kind of had to take advantage of what we got.
Totally. And speaking of like the whole mindfulness aspect, what do you do to manage stress? Do you do any meditation, yoga, like deep breathing, like any exercises that are part of your routine?
Yeah, so not much, to be honest. I'm actually kind of a chronic stressor.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of an issue. I definitely recognize it as one of the things I should improve on.
Yeah.
But I stress out too much, both from you know, getting stressed about competition and getting stressed about school and things like that. Something that I like doing a lot is drinking tea. Which, you know, I don't know to what extent that actually helps.
Yeah.
But I love drinking tea, especially during the winter. It's like just becoming tea season again, so I'm excited.
Get just a warm face.
Exactly. It's just kind of like taking a minute and, you know, shutting off the computer, doing homework, and just, I don't know, drinking some tea. I find that really helps me. But honestly, I think like a nice long run can be really, really helpful, especially a lot of times if I'm really kind of tense and there's been a lot of pressure building. I really like going on a long run by myself.
Yeah.
Because I do a lot of thinking on the long run, so I enjoy kind of going out by myself and I just get, you know, however long it is, an hour, just to kind of decompress and just mull everything over.
Totally. And you feel so good after it.
What about, like, I know after just having worked with you for so long, like you found success with different types of meditation and things like that.
Yes.
Can you talk to us a little bit about how that's helped you?
Yeah.
I mean, COVID hasn't been easy on any of us.
Yeah.
For sure, for a highly sought after high school athlete, it's been tough. For a business owner like myself, it's been tough. For a, you know, how you would describe yourself and your husband, it certainly hasn't been easy over the last, you know, 10 months as well. So can you talk to us a little bit about how some different strategies have been able to help you through some of these things?
Yeah, totally. So one of my biggest things is I always try to remember that a thought is just a thought. And so we always have, positive thoughts throughout the day, and we have negative thoughts throughout the day. But that positive thought is actually no different than a negative thought. It's just how we engage with them, right? So like you can just look at that negative thought and let that gently float by, and let that pass, accept that it's there, but don't give into it and don't let it take control. And that's the biggest thing, I think, that when we have all these negative things that come up, I think we tend to worry about it, and it just sort of perseverates. And that's when we just build up all this anxiety. But if we can just see the thought for what it is, and let it pass, and I like to think of it as like a feather, like a gentle feather like floating away. And then eventually, okay, like I can see the sun again, right? Now I'm seeing all the positivity. So for me, it's just recognizing that a thought is just a thought. And that strategy has really helped me. And every time I start to get really anxious, if I have a lot to do, a lot of clients, working a long, busy day at school, I just try to take a step back and remember that. And it took me a while to get into that habit, but it's all about habit building and trying to get into that routine. And when you find something like that works, then you can just stick with it, and you just quickly get back into that positivity right away. So that's always helped me for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely something to work on.
Yes, totally.
It's definitely, I played college tennis, and, when I was, in my 20s, late teens, you don't spend a lot of time working on the psychology of sport or the way to process the stress involved with, whether it's the fact that you have 3 big tests for when you get back from your competition, or just the fact that you really need to win this match. And it's like, I think it would be, we can spend some time talking with Matthew about different techniques and strategies to work through, because I think sports psychology is huge, and there's no focus on it. And it's been interesting working with some high-level runners over the last few years. It's fun to tap into their brain and hear what they're thinking or how they're going through it, because there's a lot to it. So with that, Matthew, can you even describe, like, unfortunately this year it's not a good year because you really haven't had a lot of good races, but you've been in some pretty awesome races where there's a few people that are pretty close and they're finishing, 1, 2, 3 separated by nanoseconds. Like, how do you mentally process a race maybe beforehand? Think about some aspiring runners that might be watching this or listening to us. What are some of the things that you think about before a race and also during a race that have helped you reach success like you have?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it kind of starts a good while before the race is actually to happen. I think specifically looking back on the 1K, which is what I focus on a lot this indoor season, or this past indoor season rather.
So
I think
a 1K is a little over half a mile, right?
yes, it's going to be 5 laps on the indoor track.
And how fast are we talking for your level of a runner?
Yeah, so my PR in the 1K is a 2:28, which is like a 2:30 would be 4-minute mile.
Okay.
Yeah, 4-minute mile pace.
Okay.
So that's pretty fast.
Yeah, but only for 1,000 meters, so it's certainly nothing like a 4-minute mile.
Right.
Exactly. So I think it starts a little bit before that, especially if I know that I'm going to be facing a specific runner who I know is good. I'll go back and try to find race videos and results that they've put down over the year and over the past couple of years, just try to understand a little bit more of the racing style.
Okay.
So immediately what comes to mind is this past indoor season, an athlete from Stonington, Reese Hammond, was who was going to be the big fish going into the state open championship. So I went back and looked at his races from the previous outdoor season and from earlier in the indoor season, just try to get an understanding of how he runs a 1K. So, I would split his laps and things like that just to see if he's a consistent runner, if he goes out fast, and things like that. And then I think the next step would probably be, the night before, the day before. Obviously, all the little things, be good about hydration, fueling, and things like that. But even besides that, I try to kind of go over a couple different race plans in my head, kind of when I'm falling asleep and throughout the day a little bit. So I'll plan, if it goes out really fast, what I'm going to do. If it goes out slow, what I'm going to do. things like that, and like the ideal race, what am I going to do, and things like that.
Because it's always so different, right?
Exactly, and I find that when I actually get into the race and something happens that maybe I wouldn't have expected, or I expected it to go out, consistent, but it goes out fast, and I'm not kind of lost in the water because I already made a plan for it, and I ran through what would happen and what I would want to do. So it gives me a little bit of extra confidence when I'm lining up. But then on race day, I think it's a lot. I listen to music a lot before the race. Do obviously a really good warm up. I like kind of being by myself a little bit to get kind of into the mindset before racing. Yeah, I mean, again, like little things, fueling, hydration, things like that, and then just kind of being confident in your ability and the work you've done, and kind of pulling on previous workouts where you felt really strong to just line up and give it all you got.
So what if you're the big fish that's being chased? What is your race strategy when you don't have anyone to chase, but rather you're the one being chased?
It definitely changes. I think that a good situation to kind of explain that would be in my conference meet for indoor, in which my high school is this very small high school in Connecticut, and we are part of a really small conference. So a lot of times it's just about kind of getting points for the team, and because we always want to win, that's always the goal, obviously. So I'll kind of get entered in a bunch of different events. So the last 2 years in the indoor season, I ran the 1600, the 1000, and the 3200. And for those races, the goal was to win with kind of giving the least amount of energy as possible, because States is next week and then Open the following week in New England, so there's a lot more racing down the line. So for those ones, I typically I kind of let someone else take the pace, and I let someone else go out ahead of me. I just kind of stick on them for really as long as I can, and then just give it just a little extra kick for the finish, just because the goal is to get the 10 points, which is what you get for finishing first in indoor. Without you don't have to run a PR to get the 10 points. You can run a 4 flat in a mile and win, and get the 10 points. You can run a 5 flat in a mile and win, and get the 10 points all the same. So in those situations, in a conference meeting, you're just looking for points and more kind of the strategic stuff. I'll definitely just kind of use as less energy as possible.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite race and then a least favorite, or does it depend on the week?
Yeah, it depends on the week, I'd say. I think I found myself a lot in the 1K.
Yeah.
I think it helps when you have kind of success in a race,
Yeah.
to enjoy it, obviously. This past spring, when we were going into my junior outdoor season, I think that was going to be the time when I really discovered what was going to be my event, if I was going to be more of an 800 specialist or a mile specialist.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it didn't happen, but I think indoor, certainly a 1K, but outdoor, I think I'm looking towards leaning more towards the 1600 in the mile.
Yeah.
For a least favorite race, I don't know. I've never tried a 5K on the track. I don't think I'd enjoy that very much, just because I tend to swing towards the mid distance. I guess similar with like a 200 or 400. I don't want to venture that that much into a sprint territory. But there's nothing that I particularly dislike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, totally. Now, so compare that to cross country, just being out on a course. Now, is that just completely different when it comes to training purposes? How do you think about the two?
Yeah, so it's funny because everyone just kind of sees this as running, and running is running, and so it's all the same, but they're really two different sports.
Yes.
Cross country is so different in the training, in the preparation, in the race than anything you'll find on track. I really enjoy it. I think personally, track is where I want to succeed the most, and that's where I put a lot of my focus with getting the highest goals and things like that. But cross country, I just enjoy so much because it's so much fun.
Yeah.
I love being on the cross country team because it's really like you can go in track to New England and it's just you. But the goal really is always bringing you and then the 6 other guys on your varsity with you to New England. It's a little bit more of a team aspect. And I just really enjoy it. I think the training's really cool because you have the whole summer leading up to it, which is kind of preparing for the big cross country meets where you get to run with your friends. We do at HK, we do like summer fun runs.
Oh, nice.
Where we meet at night. We all kind of get together and go for our long runs and things like that.
It's very social too.
Exactly, yeah. So it's definitely a different beast, but I enjoy it all the same.
Totally. And it's nice when you can see a hill and you're like, okay, I go up the hill and now it's sprint down the hill.
Absolutely,
so you
yes.
have a better break than just like a flat course.
Absolutely, You know, I gotta say, I'm a little bit privy to a flatter course.
Yes.
But I do definitely appreciate the downhills after the uphills, yes.
Well, it's crazy too because I never really realized what cross country really looks like, but when I had a couple kids that I was working with from Xavier, they showed me some pictures, and it's like that movie Braveheart, right? Like when there's like a whole bunch of people running, and it's pretty cool.
Never seen Braveheart, so I don't know if I got that reference, but
Maybe it wasn't the right one. But yeah, I mean, I just feel like it's a completely different beat. Like when pre-COVID, there could be how many people out chasing, you know, funneling down into one direction at the start.
150,
Right.
You know, at a nice sized state meet, yeah.
Right.
And
So
there's
I
a
mean,
strategy behind that start too, right? Like you have to like.
Absolutely, yeah, you can't get trapped in there. That's like the worst thing
right.
to do, and
And
it travels.
it's dirty,
Yes.
it's wet, muddy
Yeah.
sometimes.
It's fun.
People
Yeah.
That sounds
People-
fun.
Like,
Yeah.
you know, you can't juxtapose that really next to a track meet on a, you know, indoor or outdoor when it's, how many people will run at once in a track?
It definitely depends, but certainly if we were like 20 maybe at
Yeah,
most, you know.
yeah. So I mean, it's really two completely different sports, other than the
Absolutely.
fact that you're running.
Yeah.
Speaking of sports, so how tall were you at like 10 years old?
Oh goodness.
You know, you're
Still pretty tall, so
Right.
like average probably, you
right.
know.
So I guess my point was, at what point did you know you were going to be like a runner and not basketball, volleyball? You know, some of the other sports that that sometimes people are like, or you know, even football, soccer, stuff like that can be really beneficial when, especially when you're fast. And
Yeah.
some kids who are tall are kind of clumsy and not really very athletic, but yet they could be good at basketball rebounding or something like that. So
Yeah. So as I touched on a little bit earlier, my mom, again, is really into fitness. So even from a young age, you know, she got involved in all the sports, which I really love, just getting to, you know, kind of try my hands at everything, you know. Back when I lived in Newington for the first 9 years of my life, so I remember just playing in the soccer teams and the basketball teams and, you know, just kind of exploring everything. And we always ran. I remember my mother would sometimes, like, she'd go out running and I'd be in the stroller, or we do, when I could, you know, get a little bit older and run a little bit, we do like 2 minutes of running and then 1 minute of walking, which I'm going to bless her for tolerating that, because today I would not be able to tolerate just 2 minutes of running and 1 minute of walking. So running was always there, but it wasn't ever the focus. For a long time, I'd say the focus was basketball. When I got to middle school, I focused more on basketball, playing on a couple different teams, and soccer kind of faded. But again, in middle school, I still did cross country. So it wasn't as serious. We didn't, you know, I guess trained every day, but you know, it was just like go out for a casual 2 or 3 mile run, and then, you know, the best part was coming back and like playing kickball, you know, just getting to hang out with your friends.
yeah.
But again, running was always there. And then I guess when it really took off was probably in the 7th and 8th grade, when I started falling in love with the sport, and I really, I don't know if it's a little bit cliche, but I really enjoyed the winning of it.
Yeah.
So essentially 8th grade, I really enjoyed, you know, crossing the finish line first, and I think it kind of gave me a rush that was more than I ever found with basketball.
Yeah.
So going into high school, I decided to dedicate myself much more to running, and I fell in love with it my first cross country season freshman year. Getting the whole team and my coaches and the training and everything, I felt it really worked for me.
You keep hearing, like, I can just sense, the thing that's funny about Matthew, he's so competitive, like, he's a beast when it comes to competition, but I keep hearing the team, and it's so clear how much he loves team, so I think it even surprised me even more that he kind of strayed away from team sports to a sport that's so solo, but you keep hearing team, and that's probably why he loves the cross-country component so much, because again, there's a very big emphasis on team there versus, you know, maybe some of the other
And you're a
aspects.
team captain as well, I believe, too.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
we-
a leadership role.
Exactly. It's really nice getting to work with my other co-captains and, you know, be more so of a leader and more of a vocal leader on the team this year.
Yeah, that's awesome. Sort of side note question. So the running shoes have been kind of an interesting thing over the years, and especially I think like 3 or 4 years ago they came out with those shoes with the carbon.
The carbon fiber plate, yeah.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that? Because I have so many runners who love talking to me about that.
Yeah.
I'm a shoe guy, but not really when it comes to running. Like, I just love good sneakers that feel good and whatever. But I love talking to runners because they're so passionate about certain things, and you're not going to find a runner who's not passionate about running shoes. So
Yeah. So, I mean, first off, I just think they're really cool to look at. I love seeing, all the pros races and things like that. I don't do really any road races, which has kind of stopped me from getting a pair.
yeah,
Whether it be like the 4% or the next percent, so the Alpha Flies. But that being said, I do have, a good amount of shoes for running over the years. My go-to trainer is definitely the Brooks Ravenna.
what's it called? The Brooks
Ravenna?
Ravenna.
Yeah, I think some people call it the Ravina or something, but I call it Ravenna. I've been in those since like 5th or 6th grade. Just every year you just get the new model, things like that. So I really like those.
And so you'll wear that in cross country,
Yeah.
as
So
well as track.
yeah.
Okay.
So that's just kind of my training shoe. The whole year. This year actually I tried out the new Pegasus, so I've been kind of alternating a little bit between the Ravenna and the Pegasus to give each shoe a little bit of a rest. But I've tried out a couple different shoes that have carbon fiber plates, like the Zoom Flies by Nike. I've had a couple pairs of those, which I like for tempos. So it kind of changes. I've had a couple different workout shoes by like New Balance and Nike and things like that. But I think more than I see more benefits in aiding me with the shoe with the different types of training, not necessarily with the racing. I just usually stick to spikes when I race.
Yeah.
But I really like in training getting to switch into a more rigid shoe with a carbon fiber plate for a tempo, or like it kind of just changes up. It kind of revitalizes you in the middle of like a long run if you're going to tempo the last 3 miles and you already have 7 miles in your legs. Getting into a new pair of shoes just helps you kind of get through that.
Totally. And talk to us about spikes. So what size spikes do you use for your races? Does it depend on cross country versus track and field?
Yes. So changes, like you said. I've been in the Victory XC5s by Nike, which come with a very unique spike. It's very weird. It's kind of like, it looks like a pyramid with like a spike at the end of the pyramid. So they're quite large. So you can really only use them if you have very, very little pavement. But I really like those. I use those on Wickham, which is our state course in Connecticut.
Nice.
So those have been really good. Those are, they're very large.
Yeah.
But for indoor track, you have to use 8s, which is an 1/8 of an inch, which are like tiny. They barely do anything, but you just can't rip off the track.
Exactly.
But in outdoor, I stick to quarters. And I do quarter pyramids. So there's 3 different variations of the spike. There's like a pyramid, a needle, and what they call like Christmas trees, I think. But I've never even seen one of those. My coach always picks on me because he always liked needles, but I find pyramids to be more comfortable with me, so that's what I wear.
But you tried them all, it sounds like.
Yes, I've never tried the Christmas tree ones. I've never seen those. I have no idea what they are.
Yeah.
But I've tried the needles. But I find they kind of like poke that into me a little bit.
Yeah.
But I mean, all in all, I think it's more of a mental game with the spikes. I don't know how much they really help.
Yeah.
Like whether you choose a pyramid or a needle, I don't know how much that really changes anything. But it just kind of helps you mentally knowing you have some extra traction to the ground.
Totally right. I remember people putting spikes on, like on the bus ride up and everything too.
Yeah, the rituals. Yes, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Now, do you have certain rituals, like including that, or like when it comes to like wearing a specific T-shirt that day or something else?
Yeah, so I guess like a little bit. I don't know if I really thought about it in that way, but I always I really like laying out everything, getting my bag ready and my whole clothes ready the night before.
Yes.
Because it makes me feel so much more comfortable when I wake up and have less stress and things like that. So the night before any race, I like make up my bag and I get all like my uniform and the clothes for warm up all laid out and everything,
Totally.
which I really kind of soothes my mind and lets me go to sleep, a little bit more calm.
Yeah.
But on race day, so I put in my spikes that night, so I don't have to worry about the bus or anything. Because that always stresses me out when I see people like fumbling and drop a spike on the bus, and it's just like a school bus, and it's gonna roll everywhere. But I don't know. I typically, for some weird reason, and I don't know why, but it's kind of something I started doing. Is I don't like wearing, when I warm up, I don't like wearing apparel from my school because I think. And this is so pointless, but I think it's kind of cool because I'm a little bit incognito, besides the 6'6" of me. But I kind of like, people not necessarily knowing which school I go to because, and I don't know if this, flags me as a little bit of a stalker, but if I see someone else from a specific school, and I know that that school has good runners, I'll like kind of look them up on Milespan and see what the competition is. So I think it helps you fly under the radar a little bit.
And they're gonna watch your warm up, right? So it's like, okay, let me.
Exactly. So that's, but I don't have anything
Yeah.
particularly ritualistic.
What did you call it? You'll look them up on Miles.
Mile Split, yeah, that's kind of like,
.com. Is that a website that you guys all
yes, it has like, oh my gosh, like an innumerable amount of results and
Yeah.
from everything, across the country. And it has like articles and previews and rankings and things like that. You can compare athletes. It's kind of the catch-all for running.
That's
Okay,
awesome.
cool.
Now, best race, like not best, but most memorable race of your running career would be what?
Okay, that's a tough one.
Mm.
I'd probably have to say two of them. Again, because I think the sports are so different. I'd say one of, if not the most memorable cross-country races I've had was actually freshman year at New England's. It was the first time that both the boys and the girls team from my high school had qualified together to go to the New England Championships. We had both placed 5th at the state open, and it was really, really exciting. I was new to the team, so it was really cool kind of energy, getting to be with all the seniors and things like that. And we took the buses up to Maine, like a 5-hour bus ride, not like one of those coach buses, but a school bus, right? All the way up to Maine, yeah.
Squished together on the bus.
Exactly. But still so fun being with your teammates. So we rented like a huge Airbnb, like retreat home on like a little cove in Maine. So the whole experience really made it happen.
Yeah.
But it was just so fun being with, all those people who, even from my time in middle school, looking up to them. Because like when I was in 7th and 8th grade, I saw like all the things they were doing against all the other high schoolers. I was like, wow, they're really, really fast. And then getting to race with them on the New England's course was just great. It was the biggest meet I've ever run at that point. I got a nice PR. I broke 17 for the first time, 17 minutes in the 5K for the first time. And we ended up, I think the boys placed 8th in New England.
What?
And the boys and girls program combined was actually the second best boys and girls program in New England that year. So that was really cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah, but then I guess that was a little bit of a long answer, but for my favorite track race, it would probably have to be New England's in indoor. That was really great. It was the New England Championships. I was running the 1K. Okay, actually I'm going to take all that back. And I'm going to say my new favorite race was probably the sprint medley relay from state opens. Because the finish particularly, I fell over the line. Me and the team who ended up placing second clocked the same time out to 2 decimals, so they had to go back in and put it to the 3rd place. It was very crazy. It was everything was very tense. It was a little bit wild after we were crossing the line. But that was just fun again, kind of being with your teammates and all the work we put in over the year. So it was nice.
That's awesome. All the cheering, right?
Exactly. Indoor track's perfect for cheering because there's only 200 meters of place where people can line up. So the whole hill house was just roaring. It was really cool.
That's
So
fun.
how many indoor tracks are there in Connecticut? There's Hill House and there's another one too that you train at?
Yes. So the big ones that I know of, which kind of like local to us, I guess, would be Wesleyan, but we don't ever go there. I think Xavier High School trains there a little bit. They obviously host some invitations, but none that we go to. It's a flat track. And then Hill House, which is where we go to almost every week, which is in New Haven, Hill House High School, which is also a flat track. And then Yale University has their track in Cox Bay, which is a little bit notorious. And it's a bank track. It's actually a pretty steep bank, but I actually ran it for the first time this past indoor season.
What do you think?
It was steep, but I enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was my first time on a bank track even, so I thought it was a really fun experience.
Yeah, cool.
But those are the 3 kind of like bigger ones that I know of. I'm sure there are a couple more, but those are the only ones that I've really had any experience with in the state.
And you still train outside for indoor, or do you train in school? I know that some teams train like in the hallways and the teachers get mad.
Yeah, that sounds awful. We're running into the hallways a little bit if it's like rain or it's a particularly bad day.
Yeah.
But no, we start all in our gym with all the throwers and fridges and everyone. We do our warm up in our gym, but then the distance runners are straight outside and do all the workouts and long runs and everything outside.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, just gotta muzzle up. Yeah.
And go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, so I was just going to say, talk to us about, you're a senior now. It's about to be the second half of your senior year in a couple months, but obviously this year has been very odd in terms of the process of being a student athlete who's getting to go through the process of being recruited. I mean, I know you were recruited probably even for a year or two previous to this. So talk to us a little bit about the fun, the excitement, the stress, and the process of going through recruiting. And then, you could certainly mention some of how COVID has affected that. But elaborate a little bit about that fun process.
Yeah. So like you said, I think at first it's fun.
Yeah.
It starts out being really, really cool just thinking that, coaches and programs would take the time to reach out and just want to have conversations with you. It works to validate, all the work that you've put in over the past few years, which is really nice. I think my first kind of experience getting recruited from more of a prominent program was actually after the New England Championships for cross country my junior year. Prior to that, there were a few different schools that had reached out, but nothing big, like smaller D3 programs and things like that. But I got approached by a coach after the award ceremony at New England, and the first thing I was very excited, because it's the first program that I really heard of, and seen some of the runners on Milestone, Instagram, and things like that. So again, at first it's really fun. You just kind of get to touch everything, see what you want, see what you like, see what you don't like in schools. It goes alongside the normal process for looking at colleges that normal students go through.
Right.
So obviously you kind of have to figure out what type of school you want, just as you want to figure out what type of running program you want.
Yeah.
So visiting a lot of schools, talking with just a whole host of coaches, just kind of getting an idea for what are the things that you want to hear, what are the things that you don't want to hear about a program.
And you stayed overnight there too at some of these schools as well? Or?
So that's something that happens a little bit later in the process. Those are official visits, which as I'll talk about a little bit, didn't get to happen this year because of COVID. But so my coach, who had actually been through the recruiting process himself, he ran for Duke University back in the day. He'd been a really, really helpful tool for me in guiding me through the process. But like you kind of started getting to, COVID kind of threw a wrench into the plan once again. It's not, I guess, to be it's to be expected at this point. But so one of the kind of staple aspects of the recruiting process is your official visits, which you get 5 of. Where you get to go overnight, and typically the school will pay for you to come down, and you get to hang out with the team, run with them, kind of see if you mesh well with the team, which we didn't get to do this year during I guess the very end of indoor, and then since March up until now and through the end of the year, it is the latest from the NCAA. They've extended what's called a dead period, which means that coaches can't make contact with you, so that you can't go to campus and make contact with them, and they can't come to any of your races or home visits and make contact with you. You can still call and email and all that kind of stuff. So that it changed to virtual recruiting, which obviously is a little bit different, as you probably imagine. Still a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails, and then as it kind of progressed, a lot of Zooms. So it was really cool. As I guess everyone probably has experienced now, getting to go on Zoom, which I guess is a little bit of a new thing that most people haven't really heard of before this, but getting to Zoom with coaches, and then getting to Zoom with the whole team at some points, and getting to just interact with kids on the team and see if you're a good fit, oftentimes with some other recruits as well, which would kind of be in place of an official visit. And then also I would go with my parents to look at schools, so you couldn't talk with any of the coaches or anything, but I'd go up and just do kind of what a normal student would do and look around campus, see the things that you want and don't want on campus. Exactly. Sometimes I'd go up, if it was a little bit farther away, we might stay over, like you said, and then I could go for a run around campus and things like that, which is nice. So one of those trips before the school year started, I headed down to Washington, D.C., and I was able to run around and get to look at a few schools in person, which is really nice because there's only so much you can really look at, over a computer screen.
It's a big decision to make too, so you're
it's certainly a big decision, exactly. So it's definitely been a little bit different, but everyone has adjusted really well. Coaches have been super understanding of everything going on, and for me, I didn't know anything different, so I always had anticipations and expectations for what recruiting would look like, but I never got the experience of having an official visit and then, now not having an official visit, so it doesn't feel that strange. It kind of just feels normal.
Right.
But overall, I've had what I think is a good experience with recruiting. At times it can be really stressful,
Mm.
especially if you have a lot of homework and you're on the phone with the coach for a couple hours. A few times a week, it can be a little bit stressful when the work starts piling up, but it's really rewarding, and every time it's crazy to think that, you know, it's a big honor to think that they would want you on the team.
Totally.
And it really, it's flattering, and it helps, again, to validate all the work you've done.
100%. Yeah, that's the best feeling, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, it feels really good, yeah.
Totally. It's a little bit of fear. I just kicking in like right now, like you're kind of feeling like, oh man, like college around the corner. I have all this work to do for high school still.
Yeah, I'm really hoping not. I'm trying to push it off as far as I can. The bench post is, I'm trying to get through the first semester,
Yeah.
without having that really set in a whole lot, because then our GPA locks after midterms.
Okay.
It's like mid-January.
Gotcha.
So I'm really trying. Right now, I haven't felt it too much, because again, we didn't really have the second half of junior year.
Yeah.
So it's been a long time since we had school, and you know, I enjoy school, I enjoy learning and things like that. So it's kind of been nice getting back into it.
Yes.
We do like a hybrid schedule right now. So it's also nice because you get to sleep in 3 out of 5 days a week, and you know,
That's nice.
online school is nice because you can work on other stuff, and the teacher is kind of rambling or going on tangents, which is also
That's
nice.
a good point.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm hoping senioritis doesn't set in until at least the second semester.
At least you get to still see some of your friends too in the hybrid system.
Exactly. When you're in school, it's really nice getting to see your friends. And again, I really, most of my friends are on the cross country team with me. So being able to still go to practice and practice with everyone as a team, it has been something that I've really enjoyed.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Do you know what direction you're going to go in terms of class or major or anything? Any idea which way you'd like to go?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm interested in studying political science.
Okay.
I guess in addition to my athletics and my academics, I try to get involved a lot in extracurriculars that have to do with community engagement, things like that. So I'm actually the student representative on my district's Board of Education, and I sit as a board member on the Connecticut Association of Schools' Student Equity Advisory Board.
Oh, nice.
Among a few different things, just more locally in the school, like Student Council and Current Events Club, and you know, a whole host of
So
things
you're
like
busy.
that.
You're pretty busy.
I book myself, definitely, yeah, I'm pretty booked up all the time. I enjoy staying busy, so no complaints here, yeah.
Totally.
But I really enjoy, so last year I was the junior representative to the board, and now as a senior, I'm the senior representative, and it's been really nice getting to kind of know the board members a little bit more, because now I feel comfortable hopping on Zoom and getting to interact with them and work more on policy and things like that, and things that I really want to change and improve upon, and work with administrators in our school and in our districts, and kind of move our district forward. So it's really rewarding to me, and I like doing that kind of work. So again, kind of a long answer to your question, but I'm interested in studying political science in college. So I want to get a degree in political science, maybe some sort of minor in economics, and I think I'm going to be going on to law school.
That's great.
So we got a future president maybe in like 16 years or something like that.
Executive branch isn't for me. I'm going to stick to legislative.
Don't forget us.
Yeah.
Don't forget us. That's awesome.
So I got a quick game for you. It's called
Okay.
Rapid Fire.
Oh,
Okay.
Alright, so we're going to
Okay.
basically ask you a few questions. I'll start with a few. You might have a few after that. So,
Yes, okay.
favorite movie?
Okay, it's not going to be very rapid. I'm bad at this.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Favorite movie? Recently, I'd probably say it changes a lot. I'd say maybe The Post or Ocean's 8. The
Alright.
new one with the whole female cast was really good.
Alright.
Yeah.
Favorite pre-race meal?
Oatmeal, definitely. Like an instant oatmeal that has like the apples and cinnamon in it.
Yeah.
That's my favorite, yeah. In the morning,
One or
so.
2 packets, or 3?
On a school day, last year I got up to 4, which is a little excessive. But usually on a meat morning, I'll do 2 and I'll have like a banana or something.
Banana for me too.
Yeah.
Post-race meal, especially when you won.
Anything immediately.
Okay.
Anything, I mean like a whole host of granola bars. And then on the bus ride home, we'll typically stop at Chipotle,
Oh,
like
yeah.
Panera Bread, anything. Just get more food in me because I'm like ravenous.
I like it. You got any big ones?
Favorite music? Like favorite artist or
Um,
genre?
Okay, again, because it changes a lot, but recently probably SZA. I'm
Okay.
really into her album. She's dropping music. Or like Frank Ocean, something like that.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Go ahead.
Favorite candy? Do you like
Yeah, it's Halloween in a few days, so that's a
Oh
good
my
one.
goodness. I like candy. Wow. What's a favorite candy of mine? Probably, I mean, really boring, just like the typical like Milky Way or like
Chocolates.
the peanut butter M&Ms. Those are my
Yeah.
favorite. I love the peanut butter, not the peanut M&Ms, the peanut butter M&Ms.
Oh yeah,
really
that's a
good.
good one too.
That's probably my favorite.
Nice.
I had one and then I spaced on it. Oh, all right. So since he said he's a political guy, so who's gonna be president next week?
Oh no.
Well, let me say, we probably won't find out next week. So we have to be prepared to
Yes.
wait a long time.
Right.
But I fully support Joe Biden for president as well as Kamala Harris.
And so the next question follow: who's gonna be the president 2023?
2024.
No, 23.
23, what's happening in 23?
I don't know. I'm just predicting. I'm just.
Let's go with Joe Biden again in 23. Gearing up for Kamala Harris's, perhaps a next
24,
political
is that
career,
what you're
24.
saying?
Let's
All
see. Maybe too early to tell though, who knows?
All right. And do you have a favorite runner, like historical runner?
Okay.
I think
can it also be present?
Yes, I didn't mean historic, but I meant like a legendary runner.
I mean, obviously, you have like the GOATs of like Eliud Kipchoge and Steve Prefontaine, but I'd say I've been really into the rookies this year. So people like Carissa Schreiser and Grant Fisher, Sean McGorty. Like I like the, or even I guess kind of the old souls like Woody Kincaid or people like that. Josh Thompson. Those are probably good. All I'm a big Bowerman Track Club fan, so almost all of those from Bowerman Track Club.
Which track club?
Bowerman Track Club.
Okay. It's hard with the masks.
Yeah, it
Didn't
is.
you get to meet one of your favorite runners?
I did, yes.
Tell us a little bit about
So at the Nike Cross Regional meet, Nike always brings in one of their pros. So my freshman year, I got to meet Jordan Hesse, who was then from the now defunct Nike Oregon Project. But this past year, I actually got to meet not Gwen Jorgensen, excuse me, Colleen Quigley, who was the Olympian in the 3K steeplechase. And overall, an internet personality. A great, I think she's not only, a fantastic athlete, but I think she speaks out on a lot of important issues, and she's really vocal with her platform, and I think that's great.
That's great. That's huge.
Absolutely.
On a side note, I was just told a story today. So a woman who was 9 months pregnant, her husband bet her that she couldn't run an 8-minute mile.
Jeez.
And she ran a 5:52, I believe.
Good for her.
And,
Oh my goodness.
So she's a legit runner. So there's
more power to her.
I
That is
know,
awesome.
right there.
Jeez. I can tell you, I was carrying a baby in the 9th month. I would not be doing that. So.
And her husband bet against her.
Yeah. Jeez. What's with that? What's with that? Where's the support?
All right, last question. Do you have a favorite like running movie?
Oh.
It's okay if you don't.
There's not too many, to be honest. There's a few. Yeah, there's like, what's that Disney one? There's one that's like from.
I think I know what you're talking about, but I'm trying to remember.
There's not a bunch of them, to be honest. So I probably can't pick.
Brian knows all Disney. From
Yeah, I probably can't pick a favorite running movie now.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah.
Got anything else?
No, that was awesome, Matt. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yes, of course.
That's amazing.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for joining us today with our podcast with Matthew Jennings again, and stay tuned to find out. He's in the process of figuring out where he's going to spend his next 4 years, most likely 4 years. So we'll find out soon enough where he's going to be going.
Part 2.
And
Absolutely.
and other than that, stay safe, be well, and we'll see you guys soon for our next episode of
Bye,
the
everyone.
Peak Pros podcast.
Bye, everyone.